if we can. Welcome everybody. This is the, I think, longest hiatus we've had in meetings, at least since I've been part of the Village Neighborhood Association or even attending meetings. So I hope everyone's enjoyed their summer. I'm really looking forward to getting back together and seeing each other in person and getting back to, Casa Colombo and something that feels a little bit more normal. But we're going to continue the virtual format until we all feel more comfortable with doing that, given what my wife has told me. A medical professional who's presenting at the PTA meeting tonight has told us there are 15% of vaccinated people that have experienced breakthrough infections. My wife being one of them. It's a real thing. The vaccine seems to keep you from going to the hospital, having severe symptoms. So it's doing its job, but it doesn't mean you can't get it, as evidenced by my own house.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone's staying safe. I hope everyone is comfortable. We'll talk a little bit about COVID and vaccines, as we always do. And I have to say, I look forward to not having to talk about that at every one of our meetings. But here we are. Okay, I'll share my screen and jump in with the deck. No, it's here. Okay. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Yes, I see nods. Yes. Okay, great. All right, so welcome. Welcome to the Virtual Village, the Village Neighborhood Association virtual meeting for September. We've had a bit of a hiatus, partially because, there has not been a lot to report, but also largely because it's been sort of difficult. People, once the world kind of got back to, you can travel again, there's been a lot of, people traveling. And so welcome back, everyone. We appreciate you all being here tonight. I think we have a great agenda tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. We'll jump right in. My name is Eric Hoffman. I'm the president of the Village Neighborhood Association for 2021. You see on your screen a list of our esteemed board of directors, many of whom are on with us tonight. We had a board meeting just prior to this and a few issues that we discussed that I will touch on as we go through the agenda for this evening. Joe Vita is running point on the chat, so please feel free to use that or ping us in the chat with any questions or feedback that you may have, while we're kind of working through this live. The agenda tonight, COVID-19 updates. We have a business spotlight that I'm actually very excited about, which is a new restaurant that's opened up right here on 2nd Street. Some Jersey City updates that I will kind of briefly go through. I will say that about an hour before this meeting started, I received an email from the Jersey City Public Library where they have a number of programs that they are promoting. And we will send out a notice to everyone that's on our email list that says what they are, because there's a number of initiatives that they are backing, and some of them are just, informative and interesting, to say the least. So we want to make sure that we get that information out to you, because again, Village Neighborhood Association, our goal is to, promote access to information and to inform all, of this community to the best that we can, and sort of help point you in the right direction. We have 2 development presentations tonight. Again, very excited about these particular, developments at these particular locations, particularly 375 Monmouth. And then we'll jump into an open forum, and hope you enjoy my fall-related graphics this evening. Okay, COVID-19 updates. What we're going to do here is what I typically do is just go through some of the, so Tableau, we're going to go through some of the tabs that I have open in my browser here. All right, so we'll start with Tableau. So Tableau is, again, this is something that, as we learned a few months back, was spearheaded by Jersey City, and it created a dashboard which shows you graphically, where we stand in the world of COVID, right, all the way back to the onset of the virus back in March of 2020, all the way through to the winter spike that we had and to where we stand today, as early as, I believe, September 5th, nope, 4th, September 4th. So 3 days ago, this is updated every, you know, it's a few days off, but ultimately, I don't have a lot to say here, except yes, we're experiencing another little spike in cases, some of which, as I said, 15% of which are breakthrough cases for vaccinated people who have still managed to contract the virus. But ultimately, I think we're on a good trend here. I just want to remind everyone to please be vigilant, use your level of comfort as far as entering businesses, and whether you're wearing masks or not wearing masks, and just understanding that the vaccine does not prevent you from getting the virus. Hopefully it, as is the case with my wife, prevents you from having any serious symptoms when you do contract it. But again, you can just see where we are right now. And I'm not looking to frighten anyone here, but this is September 6th, right? If I go back to September 6th of last year, this was right before, a kind of winter peak. So let's just continue to please be vigilant and be careful. I do want to say that on the city's website, so again, this is jerseycitynj.gov. There are some important updates that they provide. So the first thing I want to talk about are vaccines. Vaccines are obviously still readily available. And sorry, one second. Okay, sorry, my daughter's moving. I'll say it aloud. So here, this is interesting. So booster shots are available for those who are immunocompromised. And you need to, fill out a form and say that you are in fact immunocompromised or otherwise eligible to receive a booster shot. And this here is outlining where, these are the 4 locations where if you receive Moderna, you can get your booster. And these are the 4 locations, if you receive Pfizer, you can receive your booster, which I find interesting because I actually got my Moderna vaccine at Ferris, but they are now providing the Pfizer booster shot. So this is, again, this is on the city's website, jcnj.gov. And then health testing. I want to talk a little bit about testing because I feel like I am the consummate professional of testing these days. I've been tested 3 times in the last 10 days, again, because it's in my house and I want to make sure that I'm up to date as to my current status. And do I need to sign myself up to be a lab rat because I'm one of these people that inexplicably does not get it? I don't know. We'll soon see. But there are, a number of testing locations. So I will say I got tested at the location. Again, I live downtown on First Street, right? I got tested at the location on Barrow, just between Christopher Columbus and Newark. And those results took a little north of 3 days to get back. A few days after that, I got tested at the site at Marin, which is another new lab that's only been there for 8 weeks. Fusion Labs, I believe, is the lab that's there. And those results I had in less than 24 hours. So not to say this is indicative of any kind of a pattern, but the Barrow site, we waited in line for about 30 minutes. And the Marin site, we waited in line for about 3 minutes. So if you're looking to get tests with a rapid turnaround result for the RT-PCR test, which is the gold standard of PCR tests, I would recommend that you go to the site on Marin. Everybody knows who that is, yes? Oh, thanks. Joe's posting all this stuff. Great. Okay, so moving on. No, I moved too far. Sorry. All right, back to the deck. Okay, that's vaccines, that's vaccine boosters, that's testing. So what I would like to do now is pause for a moment and say, does anybody have any questions or want to talk, a little bit about what I just discussed, or everyone's just as tired as I am about talking about COVID? All right, I take it we're good to go. Okay. Oh, hey, Lou, I see you made it. Welcome, bud.
Yeah, sorry.
We're going to get
tied up on some work. My apologies.
I'm not judging.
Hey, Eric.
Okay.
Eric.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, just a question on COVID. Has there been any guidance by the city on the next normal flu shot? that we would normally seasonally get, timing of that, you know, with stuff like COVID shots. I don't, just if the city has guided us.
This eventual meeting.
Not that I'm aware of. You're talking about getting a typical flu shot as opposed to the COVID booster, yes?
Yeah, the seasonal flu shot that comes out every year.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like that's usually available toward the end of this month. But I'll jot that down and see if we can't get, you know, an update from medical professionals when that is going to be available. I do know that another thing that was reported on the PTA meeting tonight, which is, you know, in parallel with this meeting tonight for us, is that what was the age range on 5 to 11, Meredith? 5 to 11-year-olds. The medical professional that's reporting to the PTA meeting currently is saying that not boosters, but vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds are expected in October/early November. So I think that's kind of interesting to know. Okay. Do I have a representative from El Ranchero on tonight?
Yes. Hello?
Hey.
Hello. So my name is Kevin. Unfortunately, my aunt Olga couldn't be here, and my father, Jose Villa, couldn't be here. So I'll be representing them today.
No problem, Kevin. Well, let me cue you up and just say to everyone, Business Spotlight is a kind of feel-good segment that we do in our meetings where, you know, we introduce new businesses in the village. And this particular business has been enjoying, I think, some great success. You know, we've personally eaten there a number of times. I find their food to be sensational. They're at 382 2nd Street. This is the location of the former Cafe Batata and the former Lamppost Bar and Grill. I'm sorry, was that the name, Michelle? What was your name, girl? I know you're on here, lady.
David.
All right, we're going to call.
Sorry. I didn't hear your question. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. The name of Lamppost, the official name of Lamppost.
382 Bar and Grill. No, it's always Lamppost.
Okay, fair enough. So Lamppost Bar became Cafe Batata and is now El Ranchero. It is on 2nd Street between Brunswick and Monmouth. And I took the liberty of adding a slide in here that shows, you know, some of the catering that they've created, some of their food, and selfishly, this is a photo where our family and 5 other families took the place over on a particular evening a few weeks back, and our kids, and just enjoyed a really wonderful evening. And I just want to encourage everyone to come and let Kevin sort of speak to anything he would like to as far as, you know, origin of the food, any history of the restaurant, or just kind of let us know how things are going and if there's anything we can do to help further support you.
Oh, well, thank you, Eric. Actually, thank you. You and your family, you guys were amazing guests that day. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the food. So just to start off, our family, we've owned a restaurant in Journal Square for the past 20 years. And unfortunately, due to COVID, we did have to shut it down. So we wanted to explore a new venue and like a new, because the restaurant that we had before, it was kind of like traditional, just standard Spanish food. So we're Mexican. So we wanted to, we cook Mexican food all the time. And, you know, because the other restaurant had like a lot of partners to it, we kind of couldn't explore that venue with the other location. So my parents just kind of took the push and we opened up El Ranchero on 382 2nd Street. And we wanted to make it just strictly Mexican food. Basically the origin of our cuisine is because, you know, we are from Mexico. So we do have a lot of friends and family over there in Mexico. So we wanted to kind of incorporate their traditions and their seasonings and toppings and everything into our food, and give an authentic, actual cuisine so that we can share with all of Jersey City. We do take.
I think that's great. Kevin, is there a particular region in Mexico that would set your food apart from, say, other Mexican cuisine?
So we are mainly from Puebla, and we have a lot of family from Puebla and Oaxaca. Yeah, so I would say there, as far as like Puebla, it has a lot. It's really diverse in their food, and I eat a lot around from Jersey City, and I've eaten a lot around like the Mexican spots around here, and there's not a lot of food representation for Puebla, to my knowledge. So we kind of do separate ourselves from them. We do offer food from Puebla.
I think that's wonderful. I don't have any immediate questions I want to say to anyone that has not, tried El Ranchero. Again, I think the food is superb. I missed the whole birria tacos craze that apparently in the foodie world was a thing, but I'm now like completely hooked. If you're not familiar, these are tacos that come with a consomme that you dip them in, but that is by far my favorite dish. They have daily specials. They do breakfast, and they're very friendly and wonderful people. I just would encourage everyone to support the newest local business we have here in the village. Does anybody have any questions for Kevin, or are you guys all getting on your phones and ordering right now?
Speaking of ordering, there is a question in the chat about preferred method for ordering at the restaurant.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yes, so we did that whole thing before COVID, like right when COVID started. We want to know, how do you want us to order food from you, Kevin?
To be honest, we don't mind doing either one. As far as it comes between pickup or delivery, we have our own delivery men to do deliveries, so that's good. Pickup is
you do. So if we did like Grubhub or Seamless, it would be your guys and not theirs? ?
Yeah, correct. It'll be our guys for Grubhub.
Got it.
Yep.
So sorry, of the online ordering services, is there one that's preferred over another?
So far we're only enrolled into Grubhub. We are trying to do the calculations and see how much it'll cost to go on like Uber Eats and other apps, but for now we're only on Grubhub.
You can call it in too, right?
I was just going to say, Lou, I'm turning 50 this year, so like I'm a guy that would pick up the phone and order delivery. That's doable.
Yeah, I'm in technology and I pick up the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that angry old Gen Xer in me.
Yeah. No, I just know that some of these services can hit you with additional fees. So
yeah, that's why I do it.
Yeah.
And hits them too.
Okay.
It hits them with fees, I believe, too.
It does. Ooh, Robinson's hitting the chat with all kinds of questions. Okay, Kevin, I got one more for you. Vegetarian options, ?
For as far as vegetarian options, we do like shrimp tacos. We actually do offer, I know it's not vegetarian, but I know we do offer gluten-free options when it comes to our tacos and our quesadillas. We do have an option if you want to make the quesadillas with corn flour or just regular flour. That way, we can cater to those who are, do have any thyroid issues or Hashimoto's and stuff like that. But as far as vegetarian options, I believe we are kind of limited a little bit on our vegetarian options. That is something I will definitely speak to on, my parents to see what we can do to actually, cater to those who are vegetarian or vegan.
Fair enough. I mean, I know, personally, I think, your rice and beans are spectacular. I know that there are other venues, let's say in Jersey City, that offer things like Cactus or other vegetarian options. But yeah, it's a really good question, Robinson, and thanks for bringing that up. Does anybody have any questions for Kevin? All right. Kevin, you're welcome to stay on. I really appreciate your time tonight. And you see me probably daily walking the dog. So if you ever want our support or need to talk about something, just give me a holler, okay?
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for allowing us to be the organization.
Yeah, welcome to the neighborhood, man. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right. So that leads me to the next one. Is Wyatt on?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Okay. So listen, I want to talk to you about something before we get into the development presentations. Sorry, two things. Again, Stephen, bear with me. I want to get to these couple of things so that we can, spend the proper amount of time with your developments.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all. I'm not far from these restaurants either, so my office is right down the street.
All right, so you're gonna.
I'm learning something new too.
Yeah, cool. All right, so look, there's two more things I want to talk about. I want to talk about this proposal here for No Forks Given, and a question for the community about supporting them. And then I want to talk just a little bit about the elephant in the room, which is, the horrific flooding that we saw with Hurricane Ida. But again, not to belabor these two businesses, I wanted to just go ahead and hit these issues. So this is No Forks Given. No Forks Given is a food truck that has, again, I'm going to say spectacular food. I threw together this slide just to kind of give you a flavor, and this is making me want to have dinner more than ever. But in any event, they are currently just a food truck. And if you follow them on Instagram or other, Twitter or other social media sites, they'll let you know where they're going to be, and you can go find this truck. They have expressed an interest in opening a brick and mortar business here in the village. And the question I'm going to pose, but I'm going to talk through a few of the details first, if you don't mind. But ultimately, the question that I'm going to pose, and we're going to do this in two ways. We're going to put a little poll, a little Zoom poll, because hey, we have that technology and might as well just use it. And then we're going to send out a blast, an e-blast, so that anybody that doesn't wish to, vote publicly, so to speak, or wish to participate in the Zoom poll this evening, can give us, their feedback. But essentially, what we're talking about here is and I'm sorry, I should have teed this up, but as I talk, I'm just going to find it. This is the old downtown Woody's, Larissa's old dog grooming space on Brunswick between 1st and 2nd Street. And anybody that is sort of familiar with that location knows that it's a couple of things. It's number one, it's a relatively small space. And the proposal here is to, open that up as a brick and mortar for No Forks Given, who does not currently have a brick and mortar space. So sorry, I gotta minimize all of your faces so I can drop the dude. Okay, dude's been dropped. So we're talking about right there, this space here, right? So this is the corner. This is Mr. Lee's old convenience store, which we are now looking forward to excitedly to a coffee house / vintage furniture sales in this space, which is actually turning out to be lovely. There's two spaces, actually. There's one that's here, and there's one that's around the corner on 2nd Street. The back part of which will be the furniture showroom, and the front part of which will be a very kind of cool, seating area, which will have some of the items that they have for sale. Downtown Woody's is this small little retail space right there. And it's long and skinny. So the proposal is not that they would have any kind of, seating inside the restaurant per se, but it would be a takeout counter. And I had the privilege to walk the space in its current state, which is a plywood shed, with the realtor for the project to just kind of show me what the space looks like. And you know, my biggest question, well, I had one, and the members of the community, Michelle, Nick, you know, and others that I canvassed had another. So the question that I had was relative to exhaust, and the question that they had was relative to delivery services and increase of traffic on Brunswick, and how are we going to deal with the, you know, the Grubhubs and the Seamlesses and Uber Eats of the world. But this is a photograph of the backyard of that space. It's quite extensively separated from the building that is to the west. It's about 30 feet. And the back of that building is here. What they would then do as far as exhaust, so when we first had this conversation, I asked Wyatt, I said, what's the smelliest thing you cook? And I was looking to understand, you know, what level of, let's call it nuisance, that neighbors might find, and why we might not support this, right? And so the smelliest thing he's cooking is a chicken sandwich at this point. It's a fried chicken sandwich. But I want to just caution everyone that, you know, what we're talking about here at high level is, this is an R5 zone, right? And in the R5 zone, restaurant, specifically restaurant, is not an approved usage as a commercial usage, right? Again, we just spoke to El Ranchero. They are actually in the same boat, but clearly must be grandfathered in, right? So this is a spot here on Brunswick that, you know, my question to the community is, are we interested? Like, personally, I feel like, you know, enlivening Brunswick back to what it kind of was back in the day, as far as a pedestrian foot traffic kind of corridor, could be a really great thing. I mean, we're about to get this great coffee shop. We have now, you know, a great Mexican restaurant. Irish Records does their record riot on the sidewalk. To me, this could be a really positive thing, but I just wanted to be perfectly transparent that the ask in the poll tonight and the ask in the e-blast that we're going to send out is, do you support the VNA writing a letter of support? Because what has happened is Wyatt and his team have gone the, let's call it the inexpensive route, and filed a request for a zoning variance to allow for restaurant usage at this location, with just simply filling out a form. And they've gotten a response from Nick Taylor that said no. So now the question is, you know, do they go and lawyer up, so to speak, and get a more expensive appeal to this zoning decision? And the question came to us, you know, would we support it as a community, and would we back such a venture?
Did they mistake his letter? Did they mistake his letter, Eric, saying that he wanted to put like 5 stories on top? Because that's why they said no. I mean, come on, it's a restaurant.
I know, I agree. And, you know, I cannot confirm this, but I hear that 105 Brunswick, which is right on the corner of Brunswick and First, which is now an occupied building with residents, still has an empty retail space. I'm being told that that was built out for a restaurant, even though it's not a, you know, an accepted use. Anyway, I'm not going to editorialize any further. Actually, I am. I'm going to say I think this would be a really great add to the neighborhood. And I wanted to go through the things that, as an architect, I thought about and questioned, which is, number one, the exhaust. So again, we're looking at this photo in the backyard. Sorry, it's been up here so long while I've been going through my diatribe. But they would punch through. They're looking for, I believe it was a 10 or 12-foot hood above their cooking equipment that would have to pipe up to the roof level. I'm still looking through the logistics of this, but I think we might ultimately want to say, well, hey, if this building next door goes full R5 and gets demoed, they're going to be able to go 4 stories. So we would want that exhaust to be, you know, positioned so that it doesn't have to get modified and get above that roof level, which will probably bring it some 8 to 10 feet above this roof. But ultimately, you know, the exhaust would come piping up the back of the building to one of those little mushroom, you know, dispersals and exhaust in that fashion. All right, I'm going to stop talking, Wyatt, and leave it to you and the rest of the members of the community to, you know, kind of discuss.
Thank you guys for having us. Really appreciate it. My name is Wyatt Hart. I'm the owner of No Forks Given, with my fiance, who helps me run the business as well. Just want to tell you a little bit about us. We've been around for 4 years now with the food truck. Definitely trying to expand and get into a storefront for more stability. But we've kind of spread our product around Jersey City and kind of built this community, which is really, really nice. But we kind of want to do that in a storefront and build that within the village, and just really be, I don't know, a staple kind of to the community, to you guys. I think there are some food options, obviously, like Ranchero and the burger spot,
Dukes and Diesel.
Dukes and Diesel,
Yeah.
but we want to bring something a little more unique and different to the village. We're not going to be a late night spot. I think the latest thing we want to be opening till is about 8:30, 9 o'clock. We're not trying to be a disruptive to the neighborhood or any of those sorts. We just want to make good food and try to make you guys happy. You have anything to add to?
No, I think that's pretty much it at this time. I mean, I think what makes us unique, or what we are kind of known for, in addition to our fried chicken sandwiches, but it's also the diversity and the fusion of the food that we bring to these classic staples. Or the whole concept around No Forks Given is about being handheld items, which honestly has evolved just by being here in Jersey City and mixing all these flavors and looking to also additionally expand our menu. I mean, right now we're really limited on vegetarian options, and we only have, I think, 2 items on the menu, and we're looking to expand that a little bit more, possibly also cater to a vegan audience. So really looking to, like my fiance say, expand and further our roots within Jersey City. So we're hoping that we'll be able to do that with this storefront. So really looking forward to any type of questions or concerns you may have, but really ultimately excited to be here and appreciate your time.
Can you broadly describe what kind of food you like for, fusion of this or that, or, just a general overview?
Yeah, so we have, for instance, with the fried chicken sandwiches, we have a couple of different styles that we do. So one, we have like a Peruvian Asian style. We do a ají amarillo, which is a yellow pepper sauce. And then we have a little fusion with it with a sriracha sambal mayo that we do with it. Then we also have a standard Korean fried chicken style sandwich. We also have a carnitas grilled cheese. We have an artichoke grilled cheese. It's almost like a artichoke dip with a harissa mayo that we do. We have Korean cheesesteaks, buffalo cheesesteaks.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of try to do like comfort food, but just with a little bit of
gourmet touch.
Yeah.
I love it. How long has your food truck been operating?
4 years
in Jersey
now.
City?
4 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, we just had our 4-year anniversary.
Yeah, and we live here.
I can tell you.
Yeah, we're local to the neighborhood too. We live just a few blocks away from the area.
That's great. So you have a vested interest in making everybody happy. I will say, at least one of my good friends on this call, I had not heard of you, and I'm remiss for being in that position. I blame my children. But she told me how excellent your food is. So, personally, I want to support you, but I want to make sure that everyone is aware. I can tell you the 2 big questions that we're going to have. And again, I'm really invested in this idea about bringing Brunswick back to what it was in like the 60s, as a really vibrant thoroughfare. But the big questions these days are traffic related and waste related, none of which I think have any bearing on this particular conversation, simply because what we're talking about right now is providing support for your zoning variance, right? And then I would ask, let's say we say, yes, we want to support you, you go get your zoning variance, that's a yes. We want to then have further conversations about, how can we avoid complaints that you might get day one in opening, right? Because that's not going to be good for anyone. I know El Ranchero doesn't have that issue at the moment because they seem to be using a lot of bicycles for their deliveries, but Diesel and Dukes 100% has that issue because there's a lot of vehicular traffic. They have massive Cisco deliveries in the middle of the day. So those are the sort of logistics and details that we would want to work with you on, you know, again, to help your business succeed, right? Because complaining neighbors never helps anyone succeed. Oh, really? We're not good friends. Anyway, I'll stop there and let anyone jump in that might want to.
Yeah, I just want to chime in and ask: Are you planning to open for both lunch and dinner?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Lunch and dinner, and we're trying to plan to do Saturdays and Sundays, doing breakfast sandwiches and stuff like that. Especially if the coffee shop opens on the corner, you know, it would be a nice little, you know, combination.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. From my perspective, I think I would be with Eric in supporting a more vibrant Brunswick street. There's quite a few empty storefronts. I don't think that's like, well, I think it kind of, it's not great for a lot of reasons. I think also, you know, with remote work really here to stay, and a lot of people having that option to work from home and taking advantage of that. Selfishly, I am in that boat myself, and I think there are a dearth of lunch options in the area, and I think this would be helpful with that. And so if some of the exhaust or other questions could be answered, and there's ways of dealing with that, I'm personally pretty for an additional lunch option. So yeah.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
All right, cool. So next steps, Wyatt, I'll be in touch. We want to go ahead and poll the neighborhood. I didn't want to do a kind of formal vote here. Again, we haven't had a meeting in a few months, and frankly, I just don't know how to do this virtually. Things are a little bit weird, but I will ask that anyone that's on this call, anyone that has neighbors that would abut this space, please let's get the word out there that this is something that is potentially coming. And Joe's going to go ahead and run the poll on the Zoom call, but I will follow up. We're going to get an e-blast out, Wyatt. I'm assuming we would maybe leave it out for, let's call it a week, and we can, you know, I'll give you a call and we can talk through, you know, next steps. Because again, it sounds like, you know, there is neighborhood support for this. And you know, we want to welcome you to the neighborhood in the right way, so that if you do in fact, you know, get to open, that it's not something that, you know, is fleeting.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for taking your time and listening to us. And you know, we hope we can be a part of your community
And make this happen.
Love it. Love it. It was really nice talking to you guys.
You as well.
Likewise.
Thank you guys.
I'm not kicking you off. You are welcome to leave. We're gonna look at it. We're now gonna get to kind of main event, if you will. And I'm gonna turn to Stephen and say thank you for your patience. Oh shoot! You know what? We got to talk about this. We're at 8:15. I want to give the developer presentations their proper due, but I do want to talk a little bit about. So obviously, Hurricane Ida was a big deal. Everyone experienced varying levels of flooding. Here in the village, we had some significant corridors that were worse than we'd ever seen before. One of which was right down the street from me. These are photos I took from that night. I actually put on a bathing suit to wade out in the street, because by the time I got to about where that telephone pole is at First and Colgate, the water was mid-thigh. And we'd never seen it to that level before. I just want to say something that I mentioned to our board members before this meeting began, which is in the condo that I currently live in, we have a expensive fire pump system in the basement, right? It has a sump pump basin that's at least 3 feet deep. And there's a series of pipes where we can divert the system, the flow of water from the city sewer system to go pump out into our backyard, which fortunately I had done an extensive renovation back there. So it can handle literally thousands of gallons of water and not puddle. That being said, before this storm ever hit, we diverted the water, because the sump pump basin was full. And so I'm convinced that there was a significant storm surge that was out ahead of this storm, such that the city's system was already taxed and every bit of water that dropped was above water. So that is a problem. Again, storm surge is, this is Sandy type stuff that, we can't prevent storm surge, but what I think we need is a very serious conversation with the Municipal Utilities Authority. I've had conversations with Councilman Solomon. We're looking to get an MUA presentation and discussion on the docket for next month. But I want to say that, there are a number of resources that, again, if you go to the city's website, they have resources for insurance. I've left notes on a couple of these cars that you see in this picture. If you know of anyone that is looking for these photos, for example, for insurance or any documentation from that evening, I know Lou's entire basement flooded. This was really bad. The corner back here at Marcellus and Second was awful. I want to just, if we could spend a few minutes, again, apologies, Stephen, but this is an important issue. I want to talk about it, and I don't want to gloss over it, right? It's a major issue. It's something that we have brought to the highest level of the city. The mayor's heard us already. Councilman Solomon has heard us already, and we will hear from the MUA next month. We'll try to get that on the docket for our next meeting. But I just wanted to kind of open it up for a general discussion if anybody would like to. Would like to talk about their experiences or have questions relative to the kind of support that we can help direct you to.
Hey, Eric, I just wanted to point out that Ida was a big event, but this happens no matter what. I mean, I've got tons of photos. I mean, the storm before that, and 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 the storm before that. I mean, photo after photo after photo after photo of that thing flooding. And the same goes for, Mercedes and Second. And, I've never I've never ventured around the first during the storm to see, but, I'm sure it floods there by the park and that area there. And it's really bad because, one is parking is stressed to begin with. So you don't know, you just have no idea, right? You just like, if it's raining, just don't go to bed because you got to be able to run out there in a moment's notice. Two, I think the real problem is this is something everybody has to consider. This affects your property value. The water that you waded through, Eric, is not just storm water, it's sewer water. Right. And I have to imagine.
I was hoping you weren't going to say that because, it smelled clean. It looked clean.
But it's not clean. It's not clean. Definitely take a shower right afterwards. Or, you're going to, who knows what's going to happen? You could lose a limb, for God's sake, because it's
I haven't grown a third one yet. But yeah, that's a good point.
You can't take a shower, though, because if you have check valves, the water can't leave you.
Yeah, sure. There you go. So then you're just totally. Forget it, and it's just, I just think something has to be done because of the fact that, look, taxes are a reality. People, complain about taxes all the time, but you need taxes to pay for services. It's needed. But I mean, for crying out loud, you got to at least get what you're paying for, and I got to say, from my perspective, nothing in those photos was worth the $14,700 a year. That's all I have to say. Nothing about those photos was worth it. And it's bad. I mean, it's just to a point where I'm just totally fed up with it. I mean, for example, I made a sarcastic joke about Wyatt with the hood and getting denied, for me, anything development in the village. I mean, I don't have any, I'm just a voice. I'm not the vote, but it's a no for me, dog. I mean, I'm done with anything over 3 stories. If you take it down, if you're going to take it down, put back what was there, because there's just the city system can't take it. It's just crazy.
Eric, I've got a question. On the one, we lost our car the week before. We thought we'd beat the rush and lose our car before Ida, but we weren't even aware that it was a flood zone back there. And are those sewer drains ever cleaned out? I mean, it just seemed like they were overwhelmed immediately because
They were, and I think it was citywide. I'll be honest with you, Tracy, like that particular corner, like what was it, Lou? It was not even 4 months ago that the MUA came and cleaned out.
Yeah,
all the
no,
catch basins.
it's constantly cleaned. It has nothing to do with cleaning, I believe. It has to do with the system itself, right? The system was built in the early 1900s, and it's just it can't handle the volume. That's the problem. It just cannot handle the volume, and there's nothing until the system is upgraded or at least modified in some way. Know this: the corner of Second and First and Colgate, do not park there. Do not park on Mercedes and Second. Do not park from Second to 3rd Street on Mercedes until you get to the end of the open lot right now, because all that floods in a major rainstorm. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And I think, it's just, I'm sorry, I don't want to hijack your meeting here, Eric. I'm just
you're not.
I'm really pissed.
No. This deserves its time. Please continue.
No, it's just note. I mean, here's another thing that's interesting that I always tell my wife: don't park the car there. Don't park the car there. One time there was some kind of like sludge or something. Like the whole thing flooded because somebody dumped something up in the sewer system up on what they call the island. I heard, up by the the top of the hill, and all of a sudden there was all this like muck and water that just raised it when there was no rain whatsoever. Because somehow I guess the catch basin was closed or something. And I don't know the whole story, but I mean, just, it just stinks because, I understand that a lot of people weren't able to even make claims on their cars because depending on your insurance, they may say, well, we don't cover floods, but, we cover, everything else, It's just, it's crazy. It's just, I just think the city has to do something at this point. It's just too much now.
I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in a little bit. I just had the, I'm also on First Street, and I saw, I saw that water at like 2:30 a.m. and I was really worried it's gonna just pour over and flood the basement and potentially overwhelm the sump pump. I think on the other side, when I woke up in the morning, I was also shocked that all the water was gone immediately, so by 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., it was all gone. And so this is clearly a problem of rate and how fast the water drains away. And so I think that's very interesting that it does provide a way out of this. And very clearly, we just have too many impervious surfaces that don't allow for the water to drain away, whether that's the sewer or anywhere we put concrete and asphalt all over the place. And, I think about that area in front of PS5 and that huge triangle that just isn't necessary for driving. What if that was a basin, a bioswale rain garden for draining some of that water? What if we thought about Mary Benson Park as a basin for draining water rather than overflowing and then flooding back in front of PS5 and then down the hill? And so it's definitely bad, but it seems that it really is a rate problem. And I think it's a little bit like kind of I don't know if this is. I don't know how people feel, but, just like, it's kind of like CO2, right? Like all the runoff from each property is contributing to the problem, right? And so sure. It's like everybody is like burning a little bit. It's not bad when there's a few people burning, but, Jersey City was built up, this has, in the village like 100 years ago, right? And so now with more rain, now we're all running off, right, and not letting that water drain away, and it's piling up. I was looking at the rates in which pervious pavement or a bioswale can drain water. That's 5 to 10 inches of rain per an hour potentially. They were talking about how bad it was. That's way under that. It was 3 inches of rain per an hour, which is very unusual for New Jersey in our area. But a bioswale can actually beat that. Now, the problem is bioswale doesn't cover everything. So it's more than 3 inches because, again, we're all polluting. We're all like sending our runoff into the street across impervious pavements, and it's pooling there, right? But I think there definitely can be something done. I think we should ask for things to be done. I don't think it'll be enough to just clean out the sewer. I think we really need to be looking at things where we just have more places to put that water and put it straight into the ground like it naturally does. And every mall that's built out in a suburb, they dig a big hole next to it to put all that runoff and all that water. And I wonder if we could start to engineer some things and ask the city to start to engineer some things in our neighborhood and across the city that can deal with this kind of tragedy of the commons kind of problem that we're dealing with here.
The city already requires us. I mean, this was up to like 2017 when I did some work on my house, that when you had new lines coming out like sewage lines, you had to put in a storm line. And you have to tee them together because there isn't a storm, main in the street, and it ties into the city's sewage main in the street. So they must have some inkling that at some point they're going to put a storm main in the street. And I just want to see the city come out with what is it going to cost, and why haven't they holding developers to every time they grant an abatement or anything else, put some money in the kitty for storm mains throughout Jersey City.
Exactly.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. I feel like I need to cut it off here and get to our development presentations to end the night. But I do want to say, obviously, this is not an issue that we're going to stop talking about. I appreciate everyone's comments in the chat. We print these out and we will review them. We'll get back to anybody. I've seen some really good comments, regarding bioswales and, proper stormwater management, that we've basically, for the last 6 months or more, we've talked about this issue with every development that we've been hearing from. And tonight's will be no different. And Jeff and Stephen are aware of this. These were our early preliminary comments relative to these 2 developments. But I'd like to pivot, if we can, and go to 2 developments that I'm going to try not to editorialize too much. I'm actually quite excited about. One is the old Hudson, not old, but the current Hudson Milestones building on the corner of First Street and Monmouth, the big gray building that unfortunately is not coming back as a daycare, and then a property at 310 3rd. Sorry, I'm yep, 310 3rd. So 310. Yes, thank you. So let's get into those. I'm going to share just for the purposes of showing the single slide that I have for those 2, and then I'll turn it over. And Jeff or Steven, if you want to share your screens on these 2, by all means, let's get right into it and welcome.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for having us. Like I was saying before, my office is right down the block on Newark Avenue, and we're always looking for lunch spots. So it's great to hear about these 2 new places that one may potentially be coming. What application would you like to start with, Eric, or does it not matter?
No, your call.
All right, so let's start with 375 Monmouth, because I feel like that's a little bit more straightforward. Jeff Lewis is our architect this evening that's going to be presenting the plans. 375 Monmouth, like you said, is that old gray building. Former daycare, hasn't been used for that in a while. My client is actually the contract purchaser of 375 and 379. And we were originally contemplating a combined development on both of the sites, but my client did not want to take down either of the buildings, and creating a plan that would merge the buildings together internally, it didn't work. It just wasn't practical. So 379 will be rehabilitated. That's not going to stay the way it is. Aesthetic improvements to it will not require any type of board approval. 375 will be a separate development. And what the applicant is proposing there is to rehab the existing building, rework it. It's going to be entirely residential. We're putting 1 story on the top. So we're going to get a 3-story, 8-unit building. And we need variances for density and parking. What's interesting about the density variance is that our original plan to combine the buildings would not require a density variance. It's just the way the math works out, because you can, when you add the site area together and do the density calculation, if you add the 2 properties together, that number of units that's being proposed now would not require a variance. But because we're only utilizing the 1 site, the math requires us to get a density variance there. So Jeff, if you want to go ahead and pull up the plans, we can walk through them quickly, and then let's see what questions we have about the development.
Sure. Eric, can you let me share my screen?
Hang on. Are you not able to just do it? Do I have to somehow give you?
Yeah, it gives me the host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, that's lame. Okay, hang on. I got it. Disco.
Done. Great. Thank you very much. Okay. So we should be good now. So here are the drawings for 375 Monmouth Avenue. We are on the corner of Monmouth and First Street and proposing an 8-unit residential building. We're doing this by keeping the existing 2-story building and then adding a 3rd floor that's going to be set back on 3 sides of the building, a little more than 5 feet. And then we'll go through how that all works. I'm going to move down to our site plan. And these are our site plans. I just want to go in the middle here and show you a few new things we're doing on the site. Again, the building is staying where it is. There are 3 existing trees on Monmouth Street that we are keeping. However, we're going to break up the concrete between them and add permeable pavers into that area to add a little more permeability to the site. And then on First Street, it's pretty busy around here, but we did find room to add 1 more street tree. So we'll be adding a street tree on First Street. That's really it for outside. Inside the building, this is our ground floor plan. We're keeping the entry where it is on Monmouth Street. Just so you know, existing building is on the right, our proposed building is on the left, and then we have Monmouth Street on the left side and First Street up above here. So the lobby is staying where it is. We're opening it up a little more, so it'll be a more open lobby with an elevator and 1 stair. The rest of the first floor, we have a package room for mail. We have a bicycle storage room. We have a trash room, and then we have 3 apartments. One of the apartments, the one facing First Street, is a 1-bedroom apartment that also has an extra office space in the back. And then the 2 apartments facing Monmouth Street are both studio apartments. And then also we have a 2nd stair going up to the upper floor. Now, looking at the 2nd floor plan, so what we're doing is we have 5 apartments on the upper floors of the building. Each one of these apartments, with 1 exception, has its living, dining, and kitchen area, and then a half bath here on the 2nd floor. And then it has a stair that goes upstairs to that new 3rd floor. And up on that new 3rd floor is where we're putting all the bedrooms. For the most part, I said for the most part, the 1 exception is down here where we do have a full bedroom and full bath on the same level. The rest of them you can see just have the main living space, half bath, and then a stair that goes upstairs to the next level up. So then looking at the new 3rd floor, which is over here on the right, as I mentioned, we're setting the new 3rd floor back a little more than 5 feet. And we're using that space for some green roof trays, and then to alternate between green roof trays and pavers. So we'll have private terraces for our apartments. And up here, what we have is each of these units has a laundry up on the upper floor. We have a full bath up here on each of the units. And then bedroom-wise, these 3 units, 1, 2, 3 units, each have 2 bedrooms up on this upper level. This unit here has 1 bedroom and then again, a separate office space. And then the last unit here just has 1 bedroom. And again, each has the full bath and the laundry. Moving to the elevations. This is the Monmouth Avenue elevation. It's a pretty big change from what we're showing from what's existing now. And I actually am just going to go down to First Avenue because we're doing the same finish on First Avenue, but we also have some of these up here to help make things a little more clear. So the new finish will be a red brick finish, which we're showing up here. We're also, the cornice is going to be a built-up step brick cornice, as we're showing above here. We are doing these large 2-story window openings with a brick border. The windows themselves are going to be black aluminum, and the infill panels in between are going to be colored the same color as the bricks themselves. We're also proposing uplighting and downlighting for decorative purposes at both levels, first and second floor, in between all of our windows for some accent lighting. We're proposing a new awning over the front entry, which you can see the entry on the other elevation, but you can see that awning from the side profile here. And then you can see a better image of what we're talking about up above. And then lastly, what I want to show here is the space that's set back. We're trying to make this space as light as possible. So this image to the top right is showing kind of the color we're going to use, like a little off-white color. The only difference is our windows are going to be white, not black. Again, we're going to try to make it as light as possible. And we're not using this material. We're using a hardy panel finish, which I think is a stronger finish. And then lastly, looking at the side elevations, right now what we have is a stucco finish with just score lines. We're proposing to patch and repair whatever we have to. Anything that we're adding new, we're going to also do with a stucco finish, with scored finish, and then we're going to paint everything that same red color to match the brick on the front elevations. So that's what we're proposing. And any questions you might have, I am happy to answer them.
I just want to point out a few things, Jeff. So first, we're doing 442 square feet of green roof, 250 square feet of pervious paving. And the city does have this new green area ratio ordinance. There's lots of things you could do to meet the ratio. Solar panels is one of them. We're not proposing solar panels here, and that doesn't help with the stormwater problem. But on sites like this, where we have an existing building and you're not taking down the building, it's actually pretty difficult to meet these ratios with stormwater management alone. And we were able to meet it. We were just able to meet it. We're just over the threshold because we're doing the pervious pavers and the green roof. I did see a comment in the chat about parking, why we're not doing parking. It's an existing building. There's no place to put the parking on the site because it's an existing building. We're preserving that building, and we're not taking it down.
Do you know?
And the building covers all of the lot.
Right. My question would be, do you know, Jeff or Stephen, would you even be allowed a curb cut at that location, that close to the corner?
So technically on First Street, you would be allowed to. On Monmouth,
next to the existing curb cut.
Correct. So you're not allowed to have a curb cut on Monmouth, but on First you would be able to. And the number of parking spaces, I mean, Jeff, you could probably speak to that better than me, but the number of parking spaces you could get there with the curb cut on First Street, I think would be limited.
Yeah, working with an existing building like this, it's very difficult to get parking to work efficiently.
Are these rentals or are they purchase?
So I don't know for sure, and that of course depends on what the market is when the client completes construction, but it's certainly designed for rentals, not condos. They're smaller units, they're not, the only other thing I wanted to point out is that the building at 379, which is adjacent to this on Monmouth, is going to have similar facade materials and colors.
See, I think the thing is, Stephen, is that you know, you're making use of the existing building. However, the building is a commercial space right now, so no one is really living there. And once 8 units are built, you potentially have 8 more vehicles on the street where you don't have any parking already. And, you know, you have 8 units taxing an already tax system. Just my input.
No,
I don't say yay or nay to you building it.
Understood. It's a concern that I hear citywide about parking. They're smaller units. I don't think necessarily every single person that's here is going to have a car. I think in this area we're pretty close to the PATH train. It's an existing site. I don't think it's possible to alter the existing building to provide parking. Jeff, how many bike parking spaces do we have?
Oh, I think we actually are providing 8, 1 for each unit. We're going to do the rack on the wall.
Great. Yeah, those new bike systems take up a lot less space than the wire racks. They just get mounted on the wall. So we will have at least 1 bike parking space for each unit. Any other questions? Any more detail on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to just kind of say the obvious follow-up from our flood discussion, but yeah, I mean, I think it's great you're thinking about pervious pavers. I guess just like as far as there is possibility to, you know, contribute to better drainage. Just wondering like how pervious are pervious pavers, and you know, one thing that I saw also with like outside PS5, for example, is where they capture all of the rain that runoff off the sidewalk, and they drain it towards. They have a line going across the sidewalk, and then it drains into those tree basins, which you know, I think would also help, since trees, the cutout for the tree obviously does not occupy the whole curb space. So yeah, it just kind of like I'm glad that y'all are thinking about that and kind of already got that question. So maybe good on the association for pushing that as well. But yeah, just would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is an irrigation system, which I've worked with on some other clients on some other properties. I could certainly talk with the client about it. It is an existing building. It takes up 100% of the existing lot, and they are trying to minimize the modifications here. But I will talk to them and see what they say.
Hey, the trees, the tree on the corner,
Mm-hmm.
Is that a different type of tree than the other 2 trees you said you're going to keep, as well as that tree? I mean, would it make sense to kind of plant the same kind of tree?
Yes, I would think it would make sense to do that. I don't think it necessarily does make sense for us to actually do that, though. I work very closely with Cameron Black at the city, who's on the shade tree committee. There are certain trees within the city where we have shortages, and they help with pollination and birds and things like that. We provide the tree that gets recommended by the city and the city forester.
Okay.
So whatever they feel they have a need for, that's a tree that we plant.
Okay.
If there's no more questions, Eric, we could move on to the
Yep.
second
Nope.
one.
I was just going to say, sorry, apologies to all that we're running a little long. I'd also like to say, please, send me an email, send anyone on the board member, anyone of the board members an email if you have additional comments that you want us to include, retrospectively after having considered what we've seen tonight. And please, by all means, do it. But yes, let's hit the next one, Stephen, and the open forum and call it a night.
Eric has all my information too. So if anybody else wants to connect with me or the architect or has additional questions, Eric can make that happen. All right, 310 3rd Street. This is located mid-block on 3rd between Monmouth and Coles. This is an existing 4-story, 5-unit building. What we're proposing is a rear yard addition. We're reducing the density from 5 units to 4 units, which results in a 4-story, 4-unit dwelling that requires a variance for the rear yard setback. And we're slightly over on the density. So Helena, why don't you go ahead and share your screen if you're able to, and we can walk through the plans.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to show first is the existing facade facing the building. This is the number 310 3rd Street. The property is 22 feet wide. The building is wood framed, 4-story with aluminum siding and brick veneer on the first floor. The photo from the rear shows the 4-story building, and in the foreground is a 1-story high addition where the 5th dwelling is located. This is the property survey shows the extent of the 4-story wood frame building. The lot is 95 feet deep toward the alleyway in the rear. The existing 4-story building is 790 square feet. The 1-story high addition in the rear is 630 square feet. What we are proposing, let me show you the proposed site plan, is built over the rear addition and renovate the existing building, keeping the configuration of the buildings the same. At the present, the buildings occupy approximately 68% of the property, which is within the zoning requirements of 70% maximum. The lot coverage at the present is 95%. The rear yard is paved. There is a pavement, full pavement alongside the building. So the lot is 95% coverage with impervious materials. The zoning allows 80%. What we are planning to do is remove all the pavement in the rear, provide landscaping, including alongside the walkway, which will reduce the lot coverage with impervious materials to 68%. In addition, we are proposing a green roof on top of the building addition, which will increase our green area ratio well over the threshold required by the zoning ordinance. We will be also replacing the front sidewalk. There is a tree in the front of the building, which we will prune and retain. The typical apartments will be 2-bedroom apartments with the living space in the front, master bedroom facing the rear yard with 2 bathrooms per unit. So we are practically extending the apartments at the present building with, through the new addition. The front facade will undertake quite a change. We have a wood frame construction, so what we are proposing is a thin veneer, which is 1-inch thick brick applied over the front facade with large window openings, a glazed canopy over the entrance. The large window openings will provide significant increase of daylight into these narrow units. The side facades and the rear facade will be finished with stucco, scored stucco, and windows at all floor levels. The building has in the rear fire escape, which will be removed, and new fire stairs will be constructed in the rear of the property. This is a view of the rooftop. We will have a roof deck over the existing part of the building, and green roof over the building addition.
How big is your deck, Helena?
30% of the entire roof area, as it is permitted by the.
No, understood. Square footage. I can't see it.
328 square feet.
Got it. Thanks.
I had and sympathize with your comments concerning the storm drainage and the surface runoff, but this project will significantly reduce the surface runoff from this property by extensive landscaping, reduction of this impervious pavement, and installation of the green roof on top of the roof.
Agreed. If I could just jump in real quick. Yeah, this is a conversation, everyone, that we had prior to this meeting on our board/development committee reviewed these plans, that this is actually improving the existing addition relative to stormwater management. And for those of you that are interested, the math on the allowable code occupancy for that size of a roof deck is 21 people. So this is a party deck. Sorry, please continue.
Are there any questions?
The only other thing I want to say is that the new stormwater ordinance adopted by the city applies to nearly, it does apply to every single project I work on now. There's a lot of projects that were submitted last year when the stormwater ordinance did not go into effect. And this is not the GAR, not the green area ratio. It's any disturbance, rehabilitation, change of impervious surface of 1,000 square feet or more, which is every single building in Jersey City. So they're hopefully moving forward in the future with new applications, with new development, will be a substantial improvement. stormwater in general.
Can I just ask, just because I'm a glutton for punishment here, 310 Third, I'm looking on the Google Street Views here. I just want to understand what the neighbors look like. Where is this cross streets, if you don't mind?
It's between Monmouth and Coles. Yeah, it's between Monmouth and Coles.
Yes, I'm seeing this now. Okay.
This has the alleyway running.
The alleyway runs through the center of the block. You have, this is our lot. You have row houses, attached row houses up to this point. This property has a narrow alleyway, and again, row houses with various extensions in the rear.
Yeah. Extensions, garages, paved area. Many of the houses with these alleys, because that's what it was designed for, have parking in the rear with entirely impervious surface.
Yeah, no, understood. Sorry, I'm actually coming at this from another angle here. And I'm sorry, I just have to ask this question, both as an architect and as one that has had discussions with my own board. I'm not opposed to this project personally in any way. I am, a little bit, how do I say this without being offensive? I'm a little bit exasperated with some of the designs we've seen in downtown Jersey City. I just have to say, I feel like, architects are not given, they're not given carte blanche, right? You're not given artistic license to have fun. And I feel like we need more fun in downtown Jersey City. And I'm not saying I want to change anything on this project, but I do want to just make this statement that we've had this conversation as a board that, yeah, buildings are fine, they're not objectionable, wish they were more interesting. If I had a dime for every time I've heard that comment in a discussion with my board or with the community, I have a lot of dimes. and so, again, as a practicing architect, I get it that contextual design is important because there are many jurisdictions that want to see, similar materials and similar things. But oh my God, if I like, how many of these new designs are we seeing in downtown Jersey City that are brick and metal panel, for example? It's a lot. It's a lot. And so I just wonder, and again, Helena, not a critique in the least, but I just want to make this statement that, going forward, the projects that show up, and especially in the village, like we consider ourselves a funky community. We don't necessarily need, conformity. We don't necessarily need to be, monochromatic and sort of beat the same note. And some of my own current work instances are carrying over into this particular comment, I will admit. But I'm just saying, like, I want to encourage, that, please don't think that, you can't have a carte blanche to be creative and have fun, even if it's just having to do with the color of the brick or the treatment of materials or, adding reveals or anything like that sets your building apart. Like, for example, that Hemlock building at the end of First Street, right there at Coles, which is doing a rain screen facade. I find that to be extraordinary. I'm not saying it's extraordinary architecture. It's extraordinary as a proposal, and we appreciate that. And again, this is a very small development in the scheme of things, and so not to undermine the work that you've done. I like it very much. I think what you've done on the landscaping and on the stormwater management in this particular property is exceptional, and I very much appreciate that. But I do just want to say, Stephen, for any other clients that you have that might be developing in the village, we're fun people, and we're open to fun proposals.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably more directed towards me. There's
It
you know,
totally is.
so many communities and so many people we talk to and meet with that prefer, you know, the standard traditional brick and that kind of look. And you know, I imagine my office is going to have more applications in your neighborhood at some point in the future. So that's certainly something we'll keep in mind, that you guys are you're hip and you're open to some creative colors. And you know, next client that wants to do a 100% purple building, I'll tell them go for it. Eric said it's okay.
I did not say that for the record, but yes, you're headed in the right direction. Thank you. All right. Does anybody have any comments to make? Again, I'm sorry we're running over. Really appreciate everyone, you know, your time being here. I've missed you all. We've lost half of our attendees, but I feel like this has been a wonderful meeting, and I really appreciate everyone's attendance. I'm going to shut up for 10 seconds, and anyone that wants to make a final comment on Helena's very lovely design and detailing for this project. Otherwise, I'll open it up to an open forum. Let's just do that all at once. Wow, I guess everybody's tired. Thank you so much, everyone.
Can I ask a question, Hel?
Go ahead, Lou.
I didn't catch this before, and I'm sorry. No parking in this project as well, right?
No parking.
Okay, so, all right.
It's not required, and we cannot provide if we don't have the space.
Yeah, they don't have an alley in this particular property. Some of these 25 by 100 lots have alley access, but this one, as you can see on the screen there, doesn't.
There's a back alley. There's a back alley on it.
Yeah, there is a back alley. The lot is 95 feet deep, but with the existing configuration of the building addition and the fire escape in the back, we could not legally put a car in. And the green area ratio is very important to this proposed development, so we had to compromise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, sorry, were you opening it up for any topics, like not necessarily related to this development, or?
Yes, 100%. I'm going to make a statement that says, Stephen and Helena, thank you so much for your presentation. Jeff, really appreciate it. Open forum. Let's call it 5 minutes, since I haven't eaten dinner and I'm hungry. Please, any topic.
Well, yeah. I had like two kind of quality of life kind of questions. One was just like the baseball field at Mary Benson Park seems locked all the time, you know, from one door, but then like, I think it's meant to keep away the dogs, but you know, you see them there anyways. It's just inconvenient for anybody that wants to go in there. I was wondering if that's something VNA could bring up in keeping that unlocked. And the second thing is I noticed that there were two road bumps put up on First Street. I was just wondering about the process for that and how that came about, if VNA was involved. You know, I think, I just had a couple of recent incidents like at First and Brunswick, just walking around and whatnot. And sometimes the cars just aren't always paying attention. So just curious how that came about, and I'm not for it. I think it seems better and slows down some of the people zooming around in front of PS5. That's more a question.
No, I can totally field both of those. The first one, I'm going to have to punt a little because, dude, that's the powder keg of an issue right there, right? So we have been talking about trying to get community support and come up with an actual design and put out an RFP and get people to help us create Mary Benson Park into a passive park that can be used by the community, as opposed to what it is now, which is a locked park that is used occasionally by softball leagues that don't necessarily reside in this area of the village, right? So that's a huge, huge, huge issue. Holy crap, if you had brought this up in the beginning of the meeting, we would still be talking about it. I'll just leave it there. So,
Okay,
yeah.
appreciate it. Appreciate that there's an effort around it, and understood. Thank you.
Yeah, no. And then on the process for speed humps, First Street has been a concern of many. One of the neighbors, the process is actually, you just need to get 30 signatures, and then it becomes a thing that goes in front of the city, and then the city traffic engineering will review it. If you have the requisite number of signatures, they'll review it, and then they'll come back and tell you if it's been approved by engineering or not. In this particular case, it was a transplant neighbor, new to downtown Jersey City, who approached me and said, "Hey, I really want to look at getting a speed hump on First Street, and how do I do it? I'm new here. I don't know anybody." So we took it over, went door to door and got the signatures, because we agreed that it was bad. I mean, there were nights, Friday evenings, that we were out here in Village Park, and cars would come ripping around Marcellus at no less than 50 miles per hour. I mean, it was absolutely obscene. And so we supported this effort. We brought it to the city again. It went to engineering, and we said, look, it's not enough to put one as they turn the corner. They're just going to gun it after they get over that one. We really need two on this stretch. And we talked to neighbors that were nearby, and because again, I know that some speed humps have not been well received, and that's understandable. But in this case, we did our due diligence and kind of canvassed the neighborhood and said, hey, we're supporting this. So yes, there's a process in place. It takes time. These two particular speed humps took, I want to say, 6 to 8 months, maybe more. But there is a process in place with the city. It requires a number of signatures, and that gets it on the docket for the city's traffic engineering to review and approve or disapprove the request.
Cool, awesome. I appreciate the effort on that. I do think it's a lot better. And my just to throw an opinion out there, I hope there can be a stop sign on like Brunswick and First, and I'm just wondering if that's something, if there's other people that would find a safer crossing across First Street, if there could be potentially a similar effort around that. One thing I do notice is with the speed bump on Brunswick between First and Second, people zoom down that speed bump and they gun it towards the green light. And
I know,
they're trying to get on the highway, and it's just not super fun to cross. But yeah, props on the speed bumps. I think those have been great progress in the right direction. So yeah.
Thanks. It's a process. Rob, you had your hand raised. Last thing, then I got to make dinner from you anyway.
And also on the traffic calming front, as we get more development that's like parking free, we have great city bike coverage, but all of our bike lanes are kind of like faded away. Who do we petition to get them painted so that people can actually the drivers can actually see them? Because I kind of dread riding my bike along Brunswick and places like that.
That's a tough one, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's one thing that so the city has a number of protected bike lanes that they're, putting in, right, as you've seen, and those are great. That's kind of like the beta version of this was, they did a bunch of striping of bike lanes, and Brunswick's a perfect example where they put them on the wrong side of the street, and that was actually a mistake. That couldn't be corrected. They had been striped in that way, and now the city's trying to do a whole series of protected bike lanes throughout, because they're increasing the number of city bikes. They're adding electric city bikes, but if I would just say, shoot me an email and let's keep moving on this, because there's a number of entities in Jersey City that are pushing for safer integration of bicycle traffic and vehicular traffic. And there are some sections, many of which exist in the village, that are far from safe.
Will do. I'll definitely email you. Because yeah, our city bike coverage is amazing, but the lanes don't connect the different stations. It doesn't make any sense.
No, they don't. And you end up having to like go the wrong way on one street just to get your bike back into place. No, I get it. I'm not a city bike user myself, but I know many, and it's an issue that sort of needs to be corrected.
All right. Thanks. Have a good night.
All right. I'll appreciate those of you that have. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate those of you that are still here. Have a great evening. Email us.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye all.
Thanks
Hey,
for the
Irene,
meeting.
you're here.
Thanks for organizing.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye and bye.